with that, I am going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the X Fronts, what it is, and more importantly, why you need to be there if you are in the ad-supported streaming business. To help me out with that, joining me will be Erick Opeka, Fred Godfrey, and Andrew Rosenman. You don't get to go too far either. But first off, what is the X Fronts? The X Fronts is OTT.X's two-day conference. It's all about ad-supported streaming. It is where the cool kids, the thought leaders, insiders, and early movers of the ad-supported streaming industry gather to connect with each other, make and share plans, ideas, do business, and hear the latest research and technology news about what's happening in the ad business. The event features exclusive content pitches from enthusiast targeted audience and category-based streaming publishers of all sizes to the CTV, OTT media buyers. These are presentations and pitches you are not going to hear anyplace else, not at the new fronts, not at the upfronts, or whatever other fronts there might be. We have them at the X Fronts, though. They provide valuable insights into the audience's demographics, content, and plans for some of the most dynamic, engaging, and diverse streaming content available anywhere today. It includes panels, presentations, delivering thought-provoking insights from today's leaders of the streaming industry, as well as deep dive interactive discussion groups. We call them roundtable discussion groups with, it's about the business and technology issues facing the industry, and private meetings, technology and content exhibition hall, cocktail parties, and much, much more. We're partnering with Think LA this year, who is the media marketing and advertising collective, whose mission is to connect and inspire the Southern California marketing community. They are helping us to build out some of the programming and to bring in many of the advertisers and brands that are important in our industry. So that's an intro to the X Fronts for those who aren't familiar. And with me, I'm excited to have some of the very insiders and early movers, dare I say ruckus raisers, whose vision it was to kick off the X Fronts and to help us grow it over the last 3 years. So Andrew Rosenman, welcome back, VP and Head of Advanced TV Strategy and Partnerships at Equativ. Fred Godfrey, co-founder and CEO of Origin, and Erick Opeka, President and Chief Strategy Officer at Cineverse. Hello, everyone, once again.
Hello.
Glad you're here. So we are in our third year now. Attendance continues to expand. Our list of platforms, channels, brands, and agencies just keeps getting bigger and better. And so first question I have for y'all is, with all of the other conferences in the streaming space and the other fronts that are out there, what is it about the X Fronts that seems to be catching on? Why is it that this is turning out to be such a valuable and interesting place for this industry to gather? Why don't we start off with you, Andrew? You look like you're smirking, and you've got your poster of Equativ back there. What's your thought on that?
Well, this is this is how we used to do backgrounds in broadcast. You would actually put something behind you. No, I'm smirking because I'm desperate to hear from Fred, because he has, in the way Bill had a concise and insightful set of explanations in our prior panel. I think Fred Godfrey nails it every time we ask this question.
So are you inviting me to share my opinion?
Just be careful. Once you give him that microphone, he may never give it back.
Well, no, I've grown up. I try and keep it under 20, 30 minutes. But in all seriousness, I mean, we've been involved, and I personally, in some regard, have been involved with the X Fronts, I think, since, as you said, since the first year. And the reason I was so happy to jump on board with it when it first came about, I think really stands to what it is still and becoming more of, which is different to everything else because it is just so real. It's, it's not 2 days of having a bunch of the same old faces getting on stage and saying the same old thing that they've been told to say. It's not a bunch of those folks going and basically giving pitches for what they do in the guise of it being really interesting insights. It's not. It's true to what OTT.X is about, which is a non-profit organization, is actually about what matters most and definitely what we need the most in the industry, up and down the food chain, whether you're big or small or being involved in it for 1,000 years or not, which is education and transparency, not, in the real meaning of the word, and a place to get all that and to trust it. I think that's what makes it different. It's you actually go to learn. You don't just go to get a free cocktail.
We have cocktails too, don't?
Yes, I mean they're very
Nothing disparaging about folks that want to get a free cocktail.
Oh yeah, no, not disparaging the cocktails.
Andrew, anything else to add to that?
As coming from the advertising side, like Fred, we're asked to attend a lot of things. And there's a lot of insinuation, right, that you need to be here, you need to be here if it gives you legitimacy to be here in these things. In my experience, I think the X-Front is more of a, if you know, you know. And it is an authentic place for people to exchange what they know, the questions they have, to seek out expertise from people. I mean, I think I've walked up to Erick more than once, at the Scarball and said, help me understand this thing, right? And he was just absolutely generous about explaining it, right? And I think that really differentiates the event, that there's something about being in a place that doesn't have the same type of commercial pressure and glitz that lets people be as good as they can be to others in the business.
Yeah, I think that's a good, I like the word that you used there, Andrew, generosity. I think that's, as you said, Fred, we're a not-for-profit at OTT.X, and we're all about generosity. We don't have a profit motive. In fact, we have a not-for-profit motive, and we're really, really good at it.
But I think
really good at not-profit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a critical part of it, right? You can't, other people might try to fake that level of genuinenessosity, and intent, right? But you can't unless you're like the way you do as a nonprofit, which I think makes it inevitably a safer place, which is why I think people, can, should, and will trust it. And that's before they turn up and realize that's actually what it's about.
Yeah. Erick, why, first of all, Erick has been a huge part of the creation and the ongoing growth of the X-Fronts. It was really, I have to say, Erick's vision and inspiration that led us to the creation and the success and growing success of it. So thank you so much, Erick, for your vision. Why is it so important in your mind that we have the X-Fronts in especially at this time in the industry?
Well, I think as we're looking at a rapidly changing media world, and you've got significant consolidation going on, one of the big challenges is allowing for diverse and independent voices in media and supporting that. It's a huge part of the advertising universe. And when we talk about diversity, diversity means differences of programming, opinion, target audiences, ethnographic. There's a lot to diversity in media. And so, to me, the organization OTT.X has always been at the forefront of kind of representing a very broad array of things that you're not going to find out about or know about in what I'd call the more mainstream channels. You have lots of channels here that are big enough to make an impact for media buyers, that you're not going to see a splashy, 2-hour upfront presentation in New York that costs, 7 figures, right? These are upstart brands. Some of them, but the key thing, what's interesting is you also do see some of those brands here, right? So I think that sort of, I came up in the media world, it's almost like akin to going to Sundance, where you're going to see big studio movies and you're going to see that amazing undiscovered gem. I feel like that's the same kind of experience you get out of these presentations and the meetings, the accessibility. It's less of a dog and pony show, less orchestrated, and as everyone has said, it's a little more intimate and real. Another big benefit is also, the West Coast doesn't have a lot of these types of events out here. You have the TCA stuff and other things. But I think this is starting to become a pretty good thing. And by the way, we're starting to, I think, last year was the first year we actually got some decent brand deals out of it. And this year, I think you're going to see the level of interest on that front to be, far greater than it's been. It takes a couple of years for these events to really start to get a feel and for everyone to know that they exist. So I think it's really exciting to see the growth that we've had.
Well, and actually, Eric, can I just jump in with 2 things before my ADD brain forgets them? One, to 2 thoughts to what Eric just said. One, the idea of it sort of having more presence from the sort of the upstarts, of which we are most definitely one, and therefore maybe speaking selfishly, is valuable because we are the future, right? A lot of what's sort of coming out the gates today, or has been around and about to celebrate its 5th anniversary, is actually going to be important to the progress and success of this industry. And it's a place where they don't just feel lost, abused, and swamped. And that, I think, does matter. But the other thought I just had, which I've noticed over, creeping over the years and sort of putting on the hat that we do as someone that represents brands and agencies directly, there is this now growth in interest from that side, I think, and that's important, I think, for anyone that's considering attending the X fronts, is that it's now becoming a more balanced playing field of presence up and down that food chain. And I think that's only going to grow. I think it's the value prop isn't just for the SMEs and the small and medium and the big media owners and publishers. It's also now becoming, again, that place of trust where agencies that want to know about what's next can come and take a look.
Yeah, it's it's never going to settle down again. Technology is not going to stop for another 30 years, and while we all get used to an EPG that we just have to somehow live with, that's not. It's going to keep advancing. It's just like I remember when I started getting into the operations side, and everyone was encoding their libraries of content on MPEG-4 or something at 200 megabits per second, and that was going to future-proof everything. It lasted about 6 months, and we finally all just gave up and realized that you're never going to stop, and technology's all. And so this is the space I'm that's why I'm so excited about the X fronts and about OTT.X. It's never going to stop changing, and we're always going to be about bringing the latest, the newest, the most innovative ideas to this industry. So it's time to jump on if you're not already. We have to go. We're moving on to our next thing here. But thank you so much, Erick, Andrew, and Fred, for joining us and give us a chance to talk a little bit about the X fronts and invite everybody to come. Before we move on to our next session, though, I want to mention that we are offering a 10% discount off our already low early bird rate to attendees of Online Live at X fronts. That is, you can get 10% off on your registration to X fronts. If you're not an OTT.X member, you can just use promo code XFrontsOL10. Jose's just dropped that into the chat, so I don't have to say it again. You can look at it and use the promo code when you're registering at OTT.X.org to the X Friends. Thanks again, everybody. So appreciate your vision and your passion. Our next session